personal branding is not about you. So if you think about it from a serving attitude, you have skill sets and you have something valuable to help people with. It's actually about putting yourself out there so that you are in a better position to offer value to other people, not push too hard on PR and awards, and not worry so much about artificially building up that recognition before you have actually really achieved something.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Search and Revenue. I'm Daniel Horning, SEO strategist at Linkflow, and I'm joined today by our special guest, Kaitlin, CEO at Oval Branding.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Kaitlin. How are you doing today?
Yeah, really well. I'm in London, UK at the moment, where our company is based.
Why don't you give me a little bit of info about how you ended up there, London, and at Oval, kind of your story, your marketing journey?
Yeah, so I was born in China. And immigrated with my parents to Canada as a kid. So I did most of my schooling in Canada, studied art and design in Canada. Afterwards, I decided to try America. So I moved from Vancouver to San Francisco, and I thought, okay, this is the place to be, right? Silicon Valley. Turns out America didn't agree with me as much. So it wasn't the right cultural fit for me. And I decided, okay, I need to try somewhere else that's creative, entrepreneurial, exciting, got really great designs, English speaking. So I thought, okay, I can move to London. Let's try it, give it a go. And that is 11 years ago. So I am now Canadian British now. So settled down here.
Wow.
Interesting journey, but I really loved my kind of experience in Asia and North America, and also in the Europe now. So that kind of really helped me build up my business as a cross-border marketing agency. So Oval, I started in 2016, and it started out more on the design branding side, and then later on we expanded a lot more to kind of cross-border in tech, financial services, gaming, government stuff, kind of a lot of the B2B side, just same as Linkflow.
That sounds like an interesting set of challenges. If you're looking at B2B marketing in a global scale, you're talking about companies that are international, that brings up a whole set of challenges. So how do you help a company like a B2B, or if you've helped any SaaS companies position themselves in a market, especially if that market is a global market?
Half our business is China related. So it's either Western businesses trying to go into China or Chinese businesses that are trying to promote their brands outside. So we do that. But half our work is actually quite native, or I guess between UK and the US. An example of a B2B company would be something like venture capital. So we work in that field quite a lot. They are trying to raise money for their own funds. They're also investing into multiple portfolio companies. So they want to build up their brand not only with their investors, but also they want technology companies to find them too. So they want to build up their brands in Europe and UK and in the US, or even sometimes Middle East as well as in Asia. So in these companies, we like to help them with things like brand positioning, brand awareness, market research, marketing strategy, and content actually plays a quite big part in that as well. Social media, as we all know, is really good. PR too. So quite full service in terms of the work that we provide our clients.
As you help them position themselves then through that spectrum of kind of channels and strategies, what's the quick high level steps of like the market analysis and the market research you mentioned, all the way through to some sort of a plan or strategy? What are your steps, or what's kind of your mentality through that?
So for a company like a VC firm or some of the portfolio companies, right now we work a lot in AI actually. So as you know, AI companies are growing really quickly, and it's really important to spend quite a lot of time initially to really work with the key stakeholders, the people that are really focused on the company. So the CEOs, the founders, the core teams, spend time with them, whether that's in person or digitally. It's good to kind of just have talk to them. What is this company going to be for? What are the differentiators? Have you done any market research and competitors? How are you going to frame that messaging of your company to whoever you're trying to appeal to, whether that's customers or investors? So having those kind of brand strategy workshops are really fun. We like to break them into different sessions, and sometimes we'll spend just one session just talking about the brand voice and personality. That's always really fun. And we also can bring in AI elements as well to help brands figure out what that brand personality or that brand tone of voice might be like. And then we will move on to things that are more marketing focused, such as advertising. What might that plan be like? Pitch decks, what that might look like if they're trying to raise money. as well as social media, influencer marketing, having a strategy that way. Sometimes they also do events too, either live or online events. So we'll have to think about who are their target audience, how is the best way to reach this target audience, and what kind of timeline and budget fits into that.
Okay, so that's really interesting. How do you layer in those AI tools with that first step in like kind of extracting the brand voice, the company DNA, the fingerprint? What does that look like?
Yeah, so for the brand personality, brand voice thing, there are different types of brand personalities you can find, and then we want to identify what are the core values of a brand. So every company I've worked with has put innovation as one of the core values, which I highly discourage you putting that in your blog because that is just not going to make you stand out in any way.
Yeah.
So try to really think beyond what is it about being innovative, being creative. That those are givens. Beyond that, what are the personalities that you can think about? So one of the examples is we recently worked with a venture fund who we tried to pitch them as a rebel. So the rebel and the maverick. So we think about like
Mhm.
how do we use that kind of rule breaking personality, that kind of fearless, bold personality, and who are people that are like that? Can we think about maybe Richard Branson in the UK, the owner of the Virgin Group, someone like that? Can we use AI to say, if you were to repitch this pitch deck or this blurb or this, bio, if we were to rephrase that in Richard Branson's voice, what might that look like? And you think historically, who are some really brave authors or who have some really brave, interesting movies or whatever, and ask AI if you were to blend these type of personalities or these type of characters and rewrite what we have given you in that tone of voice, what will come up. So that's really helpful just to get some ideas flowing beyond just the basic. We're innovative. So thinking about how do we add those elements into more personality, and then using AI as a brainstorming tool. We're not asking AI to write our final piece. We're just saying let's use it. Think about who are the people that we can tap into. It's fun. It's some interesting things come up.
Yeah, so you're basically role playing with AI to
Yeah,
say, okay, here's, the brand wants to be innovative. Everybody wants to be innovative. Like we have not approached a brand yet that has said we want to be stale
yeah,
and old
exactly.
in our thinking. Like nobody has said that. So, but then how do you tease that out into something else? That's really interesting to lean on AI to say, okay, let's role play here. This is kind of the brand voice or the brand value. Re-energize that, give that some life in another voice, in like another style. Um, really smart, really smart. As you get to kind of play in that venue, it's really sounds like a mix of like art and science of like
Mm.
you're kind of visualizing, you're dreaming up this like fingerprint of this company, this DNA of this company before it goes to market. Can you share some insights into like the digital marketing tactics that have proven most successful then to take that brand voice to market?
Yeah. So one of the things that I also do, in addition to running my company, part of my role in the company is also to do a personal branding strategist. So personal branding is actually quite important part of our key offering because lots of people are trying to really, really hard to build on their company profiles, for example, the company LinkedIn, but it's just not really
Mhm.
getting the traction they want. But if it's the individual, if it's the employees that are saying things and posting things, that's just going to have a lot more traction. And people like to connect with people. People don't really want to connect with B2B company brands. It's
True.
harder, a lot harder. So it's about building that key spokesperson, the CEO of the company, thinking about what is their background, what are some interesting stories we can tell about them, what is their experience, what's their unique perspective. So personal branding is a very important part of that, and making sure that that person is visible on social media and they're also visible on Google.
That's really interesting. Bringing in the personality. What would you say to the director, the CEO of a SaaS company that wants to grow their business, wants to increase demand, that is kind of hesitant to be the face, to be the personality? What would your response be to that?
The CEO or the founder doesn't have to be. If they really
Mm,
want to be private, that is fine. As long as you make sure that somebody on the team is monitoring their Google presence and media presence, so nothing negative is out there without them knowing about it. They can pick someone else. Someone else in the company could be the spokesperson. It doesn't necessarily have to be them. But there should be somebody who is a little bit more public. And you want to make sure that somebody is going to stay in the company a bit longer term, has their interest vested in the company, and also is also on board with making sure that everything that they're saying is going to be on brand. And typically founders work best, in my opinion, but it's up to the management to think about it.
Okay, that's helpful. I see a lot of resistance as we're working with B2B companies and SaaS companies in kind of the who's going to be the role that is the face, right, or the voice that steps up onto the stage. A lot of leadership wants to lead a successful company and grow it, but doesn't necessarily want a spotlight. Doesn't want to become an influencer, right? They don't want to be social famous.
I think there's a misconception about that. So people think, especially in the UK, people in the British kind of feel like, oh, we can't be kind of bragging too much, can be both too boastful, right? So that's a worry. But what I say about that is personal branding is not about you. It sounds like it
Mm.
should be about you, but it's not. It's actually about putting yourself out there so that people who you can help are able to find you. So it's about putting
Mm.
yourself out there so that you are able in a better position to offer value to other people. So if you think about it from a serving attitude, rather than from a I'm going to gain fame or I'm going to gain followers and influence, that's not what we're going for. What we're going for is just you have skill sets and you have something valuable to help people with, and let's make sure those people can find you. That's pretty much what it
Uh,
is. And thinking about that serving, adding value to others, then that's an easier way to convince people to be a little bit more visible online.
yeah, that changes the whole mindset of it. Of if you believe in your product, which most founders and CEOs do,
Yeah.
and you believe it can help people, then
Mhm.
naturally you would want to share about it. And so building a personal brand, like you said, is not about you. It sounds like it is, but it's not. It's about
Yeah.
how many more people you can help with your solution.
Exactly, exactly. You want people to be able to find you, and it's not sometimes it's not even always about selling something. Like for example, I build my brand and I talk a lot about well-being as well, and that has nothing to do with my company whatsoever. I'm not a well-being expert or selling any kind of products related to that, but it's just to add some more interest and human interest to who I really am as a person, and to also just I think that's helpful to someone. So I think I'm thinking about not just always talking about the company and product, but what else in the wider interest or hobbies or value that other person can add to their general audience.
Yeah, and that brings a lot of balance to your messaging and to who you
Exactly.
are to be able to have kind of a range of topics and conversations in your personal branding. It doesn't feel like there's one thing that this person's talking about and selling.
No,
It,
that
yeah,
nobody wants to read that.
nobody wants to listen to that.
Yeah.
Unfollow. What upcoming marketing trends do you think will have the most significant impact on the tech industry in the near future?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Everyone wants to know, right? What's up with the tech industry in the future,
Yeah.
especially someone I work with a lot of venture capital private equity firms, so they are always interested in the next big thing, right? That's what they're looking to
Yep.
find. I'm going to answer this question in two ways. One is there are a couple of things I do think might be quite interesting to look at for the future. Digital privacy and trust and transparency, it's going to become bigger and bigger agenda. In the UK and Europe, we have the GDPR, which is the kind of private policy protection for consumers and individuals. So I think things like that are going to be a lot bigger, especially lots of people are also into crypto and bitcoins and things like that to protect their digital privacy. So there's a balance there to see, how we're going to utilize blockchain technology if we're going to go down that route, or is there other ways for companies and for big brands to be protecting their customers and their data. And I think from a PR perspective, of course, you also want to be really mindful on that. Um, Doing all the great marketing in the world, it could be undone in an instant if something bad happens on the privacy side. The second idea is also the hyper personalized, customized marketing. So I think it's not just I have one consumer profile, but consumer profile A and B and C. I'm going to target A this way, B that way, C that way. It's actually, I really need to know Kaitlin is somebody who gets up early in the morning, who is going to be a coffee drinker, who likes cats, right? Like I need to actually know a lot more about the person to get the product that they need at the time that they need it and the budget that's suitable for that person. So it's really kind of pushing those ideas of hyper personalized ads or hyper personalized features and customization of products and services to individuals. And I think especially the younger generation is going to definitely want to have services that are able to be a lot more niche down. So
Mm,
those are kind of two ideas: privacy and like hyper customization.
yeah.
But and then the second part of the answer to your question is, uh, um, it's always interesting to think about what's going to be the next marketing trend. Like, is live streaming going to be really, really big? Is it going to not be big anymore? Who knows? I think it's better to think about what is the fundamentals of marketing. It's better to focus on the things that don't change. And the things that don't change is you want to tell people a tailored message for them that solves a problem for them, that's communicated in a way that's going to actually resonate with them, and it's got to show up at the right time with the right time, with the right location, with the right channel, and it's got to be the right price, right? Like all these things have to match up, and focusing on the really fundamentals of those areas, it's going to be more important than thinking, okay, I'm going to try this new marketing thing or this other new marketing thing. I don't think, companies should really think about the fundamentals more so than the following trends too much.
That's really smart. I mean, and then if you stay there, you're not then burned by a trend either, because the trends will come and go. But if you stick with the marketing fundamentals, then you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's about understanding your customers, right? Where do they want to be, which channel do they want to be reached at? Not everyone is going to want to jump on the Snapchat or whatever. So, really thinking about who they are, what do they need, and focus on delivering that. That's one of the reasons why I'm not very active on many social media channels that are out there. I'm sure there's lots I can do, but it's more about focusing on the ones that I really think where my main customer base will be, and writing the content that's going to be more focused on them rather than the world.
I think you're right on that. I was thinking about something that you said just now about with the personalization part of your answer as being kind of an upcoming, maybe not even a trend, but just a shift in how we do things.
Yes, yeah,
Uh, we've seen it over the last few years as products follow us around with retargeting ads. We see something in our Amazon cart, and then on another website we see the same thing, and it's actually the one we want in the right color. It's hyper specific marketing,
yeah,
but it's really only kind of being sprinkled into our ads. The rest of the ads are still very pretty generic. How does that all play into the B2B space or the SaaS space where you're targeting a decision maker, like your audience is pretty small and high level? How do you customize that marketing? How do you see that playing out?
well, but one thing is in the product design itself, there needs to be some level of customization. So not all your customers are going to be the same, and you always need to be, let's say it's a software, you've got to update it often. And one product that's been doing exceedingly well, like all the influencers are talking about it, is Notion. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you have the chance to play with Notion before, but that is an
Yep.
incredibly, hyper personalized type of software where you can design it to however you want it, and that's very popular. I'm not sure all the SaaS companies need to go that particular, but
Right.
that's a fundamental, is thinking about what are the things that we can do, right, to make it easier on the customer journey, because the product's got to be good. And
Mm-hmm.
then let's talk about marketing, right? The product
Right.
first and the marketing. And the marketing side, advertising, yes, but also I think it's about the emotional, the brand, how it resonates with your customers. That's got to be more customized. So right now it's just, oftentimes one brand will have one kind of voice and emotions that they're trying to hit with every single thing, but different customers are going to want different elements of that. So understanding how do you prep change that message a little bit more to reach the right audience at the right time. Um, and possibly there are some tracking that could be done for ads as well, copywriting as well, that kind of target them specifically. But I think that's my expectation as a consumer, is I don't want to waste my time looking at things that are not going to interest me. Might as well show me something I might buy. If I have to be forced to watch YouTube ads, it might as well be something useful, as an example.
Exactly.
Yeah,
As a personal decision maker on what I'm going to buy next, I click so many yes, I accept these cookie buttons a day per website
right.
that I expect then the advertising to be stellar. So I think the consumers are getting that way too, where they're expecting improved advertising, improved marketing messaging, like you said, not just the ads, but the marketing messaging, and then all the way into the product should be personalized to what they're experiencing, what their needs are. And so
Yeah,
then same thing for B2B and for SaaS companies, for those decision makers, those high level leadership, when they get into the product, it should be customized to
yeah,
already to the problem they were facing, right? There should be no friction there.
yeah, exactly. I mean, as an example, something I will use all the time, Zoom, right? for Zoom, they need to understand not everyone is having a business meeting. Sometimes the Zoom needs to be doing a business party or socializing, and that's going to have a completely different set of needs than what's necessary for a very serious meeting. I remember that video of the guy who turned up to a judge in the court, and he was turned up as a cat. Right, the Zoom turned him into a cat, and he's like, "Judge, I swear I'm not a cat." And it's like that's a mixed match in what the functioning of the thing is, and it's really funny. But that we're expecting software to do multiple things, and it needs to be easy to do as well.
Yeah, because then that becomes marketing messaging that you don't want. That the software didn't work the way that it should have. The marketing starts with the product. If the product is a great customized fit, then it tells a great marketing story on the backside.
And if you are trying to you're trying to sell a higher ticket item in terms of SaaS, like five figures and more type of service, that has to be personalized pitching. From a business perspective, that just has to be done that way. Someone on the sales team is going to need to make personal relationships to get it sold, and I think that's just how business is done on a higher ticket items.
Yeah, I agree. And those higher ticket items, I mean, those are really competitive spaces, and you guys operate in a competitive space. How can you share how you differentiate your brand and products in the market? You mentioned the time spent investing in understanding the brand and spending time with leadership. What are some other ways that you differentiate Oval?
So for us, we've actually pivoted a few times. Sometimes we do have to move the space with the space a little bit. A couple of years ago, blockchain, Web3, there were a lot of clients in that area when Bitcoin's very high. And then last couple of years, gaming's been quite big as well. Gaming continues to grow as a good sector for us. And AI clients have been picking up as well. We also shift our business geographically. Sometimes we focus a lot more on China, but during the pandemic, not so much because I can't go back. So it's much harder to build those business relationships. But US then might be doing really well for a couple of years in the UK. So I think you have to be not so narrow that you are only fitting into one particular type of audiences, but you want to be wide enough that you can pivot a little bit more and expand a little bit more so that you are not worried when the times are a bit harder, especially not being defined by geography. There's much bigger world out there than the few countries that we normally work in. So there's a lot more opportunities out there.
We forget that, I think, sometimes, that there's just a huge set of markets, not just one market or maybe not even just a few, but a huge set of audiences out there that we can go after.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, as that relates to kind of doing the digital marketing, especially with content being crucial to that, what role does content marketing play at your company when you're working with, especially with like a B2B or a SaaS brand? How do you measure its impact for content marketing specifically?
Normally what we do, like, for example, SEO, we will think about the on-site SEO, making sure that websites are being structured properly and things that are put on the website, like blogs and content, are being structured properly so that they are being able to be found on search engines. And then the type of content that we put out, the mistake to make on that, please avoid this mistake, is doing too many different types of content all together. You don't want to be putting out a webinar and a podcast and a blog post and TikTok videos and all that all at the same time if there's not really the capacity to do that or the bandwidth to do that. I think it's more important to focus on a few channels first and then do those channels really, really well before expanding into other channels. So for us, when I started out, I did a lot of writing. So blog posts, things related to branding, related to marketing, related to personal branding, did a lot of writing. That got me my first kind of client and my first press engagements and speaking opportunities. That all came from that. And then I leaned into areas that I am more interested in. So I'm interested in speaking and community building. So I do a lot of more speaking engagements. So through that, that's a way of putting, I guess you can kind of call it content, because a lot of those videos do end up online as well. And you're creating content in the formats of PPTs and white papers and PowerPoints and so end up PDFs, right? And reports and things like that, so people can download as well. So I think focusing on what your audience needs, intersection between what your audience needs and what you can do and have the capacity to do and have the passion to do, and finding where that middle point is. Some people don't want to show their faces, so video is not great, but maybe a podcast and maybe something else. But yeah, it's finding out that balance.
Yeah, written word is a great place to share your story or your expertise if you want to be, a writer, a blogger, resources, white papers. And it sounds like you accidentally became a content marketer by loving to be able to share and build communities and speak. That then turns into videos and content that
Yeah,
can then be
exactly. And I like writing as well. So I think writing is a really good way for it to live on internet for longer. I think a lot of the content that we put out, tweets, for example, or like I think the average lifespan is maybe 20 minutes. Oh, sorry, if that's 20
Yeah,
minutes, I don't know. And I think, blog posts are going to just gonna last a lot longer. So you want to have some things that are gonna last longer on internet, YouTube videos and things like that. Importantly, is the thing you're putting out adding value to your audience? Are you
mm,
serving them? Or is it just more noise? We don't need more noise.
right. Does it check one more keyword box? Great. No, that's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
that's not going to go very far or stick around.
yeah,
But adding value, we have bots, right, from Google and from
yeah,
everybody else crawling the internet looking for the gold, looking for the high quality human written or human published or human recorded content. And they're getting very good at finding that stuff. And so if we want our content marketing to go far, we have to generate stuff that adds value.
absolutely. I think AI is great for idea generation. It's for rewriting and grammar and things like that. But AI cannot write, period. It
No.
just cannot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not right now anyway. And I think companies should definitely steer away from completely AI just generated blog posts, even if it's got keywords and things like that. It's just I don't think that's a good long term strategy because your competitors can do that on the cheap as well. So there's
Right.
no help. Yeah,
Yeah.
we need that
Everybody can make it. Yeah.
exactly.
So as you guys are putting out content marketing or working with a brand to put out content marketing, how do you guys measure if that's working? Is it audience growth? Is it traffic? Is it brand awareness? Do you guys have things that measure the effectiveness of content marketing for like a B2B company?
For sure. I mean, there are simple metrics like how many people are reading it. That's to start off with. But more importantly, is it going to, in the long run, generate more interest in your brand and more interest in the products and services you have? And for me, my mix has always been a third of the clients will come from word of mouth. So doing a good job to start off with, so people refer you. That's always a great way to do it. And then a third of it is coming from content. So it's from being visible online, being good on Google, being searched, and SEO and content. So those are another avenue. And then the third one is actually being out there, meeting people, networking, building communities, whether online or offline, but making that one-to-one relationships. And those really kind of bring in more trust than perhaps some social media where people really don't really know you that well. And I think having a balance between those three things and continue to do them, for me, has worked out really well in terms of helping us grow our business.
Nice. Speaking of growing your business and helping
Yeah.
grow, this Oval is your brand, right? You're the founder.
Yes. Yeah.
So as a leader, how do you inspire innovation within your marketing team?
So our company is set up completely remotely. Um, an entire team there's people in the UK, people in US, people in China, all the places I've lived. um, and I love that. But of course, there are many difficult things about having a remote team. So the important thing for me is to have frank conversations and to be able to push for new ideas. For example, I have a marketing person in China who does our gaming services that we promote in China. So I'll constantly be asking him, what are you reading recently? What influencer have you seen recently? What's been interesting? What are people talking about? Right? Let's think through what are the new ideas that are out there. Let's have a chat. What's AI doing? What's this conference you went to? And then really promoting those really good ideas is going to help foster a culture of being able to just test and see, having a lot of opportunities. Just I don't know if it's going to work or not. Let's give it a go. Like one example of that is we work with a company called Dovetail Games. They are a train simulator gaming company. So you play this game, you can pretty much know how to drive a train. It's crazy. It's great,
Wow.
great fun. And then we thought, okay, what if we got some actual real life train drivers to help promote it? Like, I don't know if that's going to work at all. I'm not sure, but let's give it a go, give it a try. Let's contact them. Where can we find train drivers? I don't know, but let's go find them and then start a marketing campaign doing that. And it worked out extremely well, right? So just having an idea and trying it out. And sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes our things are just flopped, which is okay. But if we set it up properly, people are not afraid. The teams are not afraid to share these ideas with me. And either way, we can set up rewards and incentives to make everyone able to pitch in. And I love that because it's more fun. It's just more fun that way. And when there's joy in the company, I think creativity sparks and everything grows from there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's a hard line to walk. I think as you're growing a company, you want to, grow revenues. You want to be able to pay your team. Like you need to maintain a certain number of clients, reduce churn. But you also want to be able to play a little bit, like have some new
Yeah.
ideas, test some things. So it sounds like for you, kind of the culture that you've developed with your team is bring some of these ideas to the table. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid that they might fail. That's okay. So what would your advice be to like a leader within like a B2B company or a SaaS company who is kind of facing the pressure to raise sales, raise revenue numbers, but wants to foster a creative environment? How do you play off of that with your team? How do you invite them in to bring new ideas to the table without fear?
I think there needs to be some room. And by room, I mean time. So
Mm,
if an employee's time is 100% focused, or even 120% over time focused on just getting their basic work done, nobody's ever going to have time to think about new ideas. And that's why
mm,
big companies like Google have, like, say, half a day off, or 4-day work weeks and things like that, or other company socials and things like that, to foster those time and space for that kind of experimentation. And as a leader, I would suggest try your best to try to fit that in, and have an award system for results. Right? If someone is going to get great rewards for really trying this new thing that's going to increase, sales and marketing by a certain percentage, let's reward them really well, right? Why not? Um, and that's really going to help align their interest with the company's interest. And I think it also needs to be modeled, right? I think the leaders themselves also need to take their time themselves to not feel so pressured with time all the time. Um, the default mode cannot be always busy and always like not very available. I think they need to be available, and they need to not have that sense of rush all the time, to create some more room to breathe. I know it's much easier said than done, but
right.
I worry that sometimes companies are trying to do too much. When
Mm,
I'm saying experimentation, I don't mean let's 5 ideas every week. Let's try them all. Let's do those things. Let's be very, very focused on one idea. Let's try for a right amount of time. That's going to see
mhm.
if it's actually working or not. Give it enough time. Don't kill it off too soon. And then switch to other things. And then maybe you only pick one out of like 50 ideas that come up to actually trial. But having the space for that. And when it comes back to marketing, what I said before, in terms of how many social media channels you're on, how much content marketing you're doing, how much different marketing strategies and channels, online, offline. Think about how do you simplify that to be as easy as possible and as smooth as possible, so you're not overwhelming yourself with too much. For B2B SaaS, I really think there's normally a very clear kind of type of audience that you're trying to solve a very particular problem, and think about how you can relate to them in a few touch points, and not every single touch point. Is going to kind of bring a little bit more ease into the culture of the company. Perhaps thinking about the 80-20 rule, right? 80% and then 20% room.
I think you're right, and you're onto something there where there's almost this disconnect, it seems, where from company mission to be innovative, if every company wants innovation, right, as one of their value props, well, the rubber needs to hit the road then to block off time and prioritization in the initiatives for innovation. If a company says innovation is one of our value props, but then tells all employees and team members and even leadership, go work 120% of your time on current initiatives, there's a disconnect. You can't activate on innovation if there's no blocked time for innovation.
And I'm very much also on top of like cash flow and budgets
Mhm.
to make sure that there's enough of that as well to go around to have experiments. it's okay. You don't have to be doing it all the time, but it's important to communicate that this is something that we do value in the company, and everyone is welcome to pitch their ideas.
That's really smart. Well, yeah, no, these are some really, really solid insights for leading and marketing a company, especially in B2B, especially internationally. I've got 5 closing lightning round questions for you to kind of wrap
Okay.
up with.
Yeah.
Question number 1: what MarTech tool could you not live without?
I would just have to say general AI tools. I'm kind of relying on them a little bit too much now. Like Microsoft, like Copilot or ChatGPT, products like that, to generate ideas and to think through problems. And I've even built my own bot the other day with as a personal career coach, who I can just talk about, but I don't feel like doing it today. Help me not procrastinate, and then they give you some ideas.
That's amazing. Did you build that in Copilot?
I built it in Character AI.
Character AI.
I don't know if you've heard of it, yeah. So you can build that, and then you get your own little cheerleader going on.
That's
Helping.
amazing. I'm doing that right after this call. Perfect. Okay, second lightning round question. What's your favorite book on marketing and or business or branding?
The most recent book that I read it's not exactly a marketing book, but I think it's really key for business entrepreneurs. It's called Same as Ever by Morgan Housel. He is the person who also wrote Psychology of Money, which is also a great book. But Same as Ever is about this concept of thinking about all the things that doesn't change matters more than all the constant innovations and things that do change. Thinking about human nature that's built behind all the and the patterns and the risks that are built into our lives that don't change, and understanding those key forces is much more important. Definitely check it out.
I will. It's on my TBR now. Number 3 would be favorite podcast, influencer, speaker, or channel.
There's so many. I mean, I
You can give
love
me top
podcasts.
3.
I love,
Yeah.
like, I'm constantly listening to them. Um, the Happiness Lab is great. They have a series on work at the moment. How I Built This is excellent for entrepreneurs. Do you know that one? It seems
Yep.
like you do. Yeah,
Yep. That
right.
one's
That's
amazing.
a great one. And Freakonomics, which I love, is a classic, and it talks about behavioral economics, which I think every marketer needs to understand. How consumer behavior is not always as textbooks as the textbooks describe. So behavior economics and Freakonomics is excellent. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, those are some solid ones.
Yeah.
How I Built This with Guy Raz, right?
Yes,
Those
Kairos,
are some
yes.
really incredible episodes.
Yes.
Okay, very good. How about one key marketing insight you know now you wish you knew 5 years ago?
Ooh. Um, so something that was, I guess, a mistake. Well, I would love to learn from our mistakes is to not push too hard on PR and awards before you have actually really achieved something. And I think
Mm,
throwing money at those are very expensive things to throw money at PR, especially. And I think really think about serving people and doing that, and not worry so much about artificially building up that recognition. Again, coming back to the serving attitude rather than fame. I wish I really understood that in the beginning, and it could have saved myself some time. But entrepreneur is a journey, isn't it? That's how we grow.
it's true. And there's a great book. Have you read The Go-Giver?
No, I should look it up.
Oh, that idea right there is kind of in that book of providing value first and foremost,
Yeah,
before it's scalable, before it's profitable, building something that really helps people. Everything else follows after that. Then it's sticky, it grows, it goes out. People want to talk about it, people want to buy it. But if you focus on that part and you focus on the selling something, the awards and the press, and then build the product or whatever it is that you're offering this value, it doesn't work that
yeah.
way.
A lot of founders I see, actually, they are trying to raise money too fast. They're trying to give up too much of their equity in company to raise
Mm,
money, and it's always the founder's job now becomes fundraising each round.
yeah,
They are not spending any time actually working on the business. If the business needs to, in some ways, to function, before you have like X number of million, like it needs to function before that. And
right,
I think
right.
some of the companies that we know, maybe, cars that drives around companies, which that shall not be named, needs to be more profitable before they are, raising crazy amounts of monies and valuations.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think, yeah, founders can think a little bit more about that than focusing too much on just the paper value. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you have to bring in some funding, right? I mean, you don't
For
have
sure.
to. There are
Yeah.
bootstrapped companies, but you have to have money in the bank to fund the company, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's almost like if you don't build the structure, the bones, the frame of the car, and then you dump a bunch of money onto it, it's just going to crush the company. Like if there's not something to do with that money that has already been proved out, the weight
Yeah.
of that funding kind of suffocates the company that hasn't been built yet.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not serving people and nobody actually, you're not actually solving a problem, not actually serving anyone, how's the company is just not going to work, no matter how great at fundraising someone
Yeah,
is.
a bunch more money is not going to make you great at serving people with your product or service.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Um,
coming back to that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. What's one story that you might not have told your team, but if and when you share it, that would make their jaws drop?
I think my team might probably already know this, but I wouldn't underestimate the power of my cat and the success of my business.
That's amazing.
um,
Cat powered business growth.
Pat, he is on our website as the Chief Engagement Officer, and I am not kidding. I think sometimes, we need to step out of work and think about there are other things in life that are motivators and our joy and our engagement. And my cat is one of them. And
I
and I
love that.
think we need to bring that human element into our work.
Yep.
And
Yep.
they probably wouldn't underestimate like how much that is really matters.
That's incredible. That's amazing. I love it.
Well,
Perfect exclamation mark on a great call.
thank you.
I really loved the insights today. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Daniel.